Welcome to day 3 of the money transformation. Took a little break yesterday because I was dealing with some stuff, but here we are, and I have a great one for today. So, what if today you could completely dissolve the story that you've had for yourself about money? When you look at your life and you think about what money has been, what do you feel? What do you think? What comes up for you when it comes to earning money, spending money, making money, investing money, all of that stuff? Do you do what you're supposed to do? Are you irresponsible? What's your whole story with money? And what would happen if that wasn't actually true? What would happen if you didn't have to keep creating from that story? It's really easy to look at what appeared to happen in the past when it comes to money and decide that we're a certain kind of person or we are a certain way. And it's very easy to judge ourselves. It's very easy to regret or feel guilty or ashamed of different parts of our money journey. So, what if you would just be with that today in a completely different way that lets it dissolve? And what I've been really curious about for the last 24 hours or so is how much of the money story is created just to reinforce a particular idea you have about yourself. If you think you always mess things up, if you think you're always getting into trouble, if you think you're always creating problems for yourselves, if you think you can't handle your life, if you think you can't take care of yourself, this is one of the really easy ones to fall into when it comes to money is, I don't know how to take care of myself. I can't take care of myself. How am I ever going to take care of myself? Because I can't seem to figure money out. But what actually comes first? The situation with money, and then you start thinking that you can't take care of yourself? Or does the situation with money actually arise from this idea that you don't know how to take care of yourself, or that you're irresponsible, or that you don't know how to manage not just money, but your whole life? It's easy to look at money as its own isolated area of our lives without digging deeper and going, well, hold on. How much does this just reflect the relationship that I have with myself? What I think and feel and believe about myself? Now, the good news is, nothing that you think or feel or believe about yourself is necessarily true. But it creates this very interesting feedback loop where we think and feel and believe certain things about ourselves, and then we create these situations and experiences and scenarios that reinforce these things that we think and feel and believe about ourselves. So it seems almost impossible to get out of thinking and feeling and believing certain things about ourselves because they keep showing up. But they actually keep showing up so that we can keep holding on to these thoughts and these feelings and these beliefs that we have about ourselves. Now that sounds really strange, but if you will really deeply be honest with yourself, you might realize, wow, I have thought a certain thing about myself my entire life. And I've had all these feelings associated with thinking that. And it has solidified into this belief that I am a certain way. And all of these different experiences pop up in my experience so that I get to go on believing those things I believe and feeling those things I feel and thinking those things I think about myself. So we usually tend to take a backwards approach to letting go of this. We go, well, if I can fix my money situation, or I can fix my relationships, or I can fix my living situation, whatever we're trying to fix, we think that if we can fix that, suddenly we'll be allowed to think and feel and believe differently. But what we actually realize is it's actually pretty difficult to change the experience when we're not actually changing where those thoughts and those feelings and those beliefs are actually coming from. The thoughts and the feelings and the beliefs don't actually come from the experience as much as it seems like they do. It's really easy to look at your life and go, okay, as a kid, I was treated this way, and this happened, and this occurred, and now I think and I feel and I believe certain things about myself. That's a really easy model of experience to take on. That your experience is actually what generates your thoughts and your feelings and your beliefs. But just ask yourself, in this moment, is my experience creating what I think and what I feel and what I believe? Or am I creating what I think and what I feel and what I believe? And am I creating the experiences that allow me to go on thinking and feeling and believing what I think and feel and believe? So, if you're really present with that, it might seem strange, it might seem illogical, it might seem insane. But if you're really present with that, you might realize, actually, I've been creating these experiences to reinforce these thoughts and these feelings and these beliefs that I have about myself. These experiences don't actually have the power to make me believe anything about myself, to make me think anything about, because somebody else might interpret these experiences in a different way than I am. I am actually choosing, more than I might care to admit, how to interpret what I'm experiencing and how to feed what I'm experiencing into these thoughts and these feelings and these beliefs that I've been holding on to and actually cultivating in a strange way. So, if we will realize how things are actually occurring, it is not that things happen and then we think things and we feel things and we believe things based on what's happened. It's actually that we create an experience that reinforces what we think and feel and believe. If we'll really be present with that, we can get to the center of what actually is going to be most useful to look at. Because looking at your experience, the same way you've been looking at your experience and going, how do I deal with this? When you've already nailed it to the wall as what it is, makes it hard to come up with any other way of dealing with it than the way you've already been dealing with it, which in the experience you've created doesn't seem to work. That's how we end up feeling so stuck, is that we have these thoughts and feelings and beliefs about our experience, and we expect the experience to change before we will change not just the thoughts, the feelings, and the beliefs, but actually what's going on behind the scenes of everything. If we would really touch base with what's really going on behind the scenes, with what we really are, and not buy so much into what we're experiencing as totally real in the way we've defined it as real, as totally solid in the way we've defined it as solid, if we would be much more curious about the experience and about what's actually creating the experience, we could have a completely different experience. And what I've started to realize is it's very easy to present this on the level of theory. But what I would like for the rest of this 7 days is to take this from a theory into an experience, into a direct experience of realizing and remembering what is actually true. Not just talking about it because it sounds good and it fits with all the other spiritual and metaphysical and energetic stuff I've heard. So, yeah, sounds good, but it doesn't really work. What do you need to open up to in order to have a direct experience of who and what you actually are? Are you open to having a direct experience of who and what you actually are? Because you might have noticed by now, when you are really freaking out about money, when you are really freaking out about anything, when you are really seeing everything in the worst possible light, when you are really judging yourself, that is not being open to who and what you truly are. That's shutting the door as tightly as you can on who and what you truly are. And a lot of people like to talk about this as if the universe is going to rush in and provide you with what you're asking for. I think that that is more helpful than thinking that the universe is going to try and hurt you. But what if it is actually you that is going to provide you with everything that you're asking for? And when I say that, I don't mean what if you're going to go and have to do a bunch of hard work to get a bunch of things to happen so that you can have that's not what I'm suggesting. What if by opening up to a full and present awareness of who and what you actually are, beyond judgment, beyond what your experience seems to tell you about who and what you actually are, beyond what seems to be going on in your life right now that informs you of who and what you are, what if you were completely and totally open to finding out, to remembering, to discovering, to embodying who and what you actually are? And we've discussed who and what you actually are plenty. And as I say, on the level of theory, it sounds great, but your direct experience sometimes does not seem to reflect who and what you actually are. But really look at that. How much is your hand actually involved in guiding and determining and choosing how often you're going to allow yourself to open up to who and what you actually are, and how long you're going to pretend on a daily basis that you are cut off and disconnected from everything, separate from greatness, separate from abundance, separate from joy, separate from the all. So you'll notice that the moments where you feel the most cut off from everything are when you're judging yourself quite intensely. And most people seem to judge themselves quite intensely when it comes to money. Whether that's, I spend money like an idiot, I'm a moron when it comes to money, I'm not smart enough, I don't deserve, whatever the judgment is. There's something I should be doing, I should be working harder, I don't want to work so hard, whatever the judgment is. You will notice, if you look, that the harder you are judging yourself, the more cut off you feel from the all. And so, as crazy as it might sound, as counterproductive as it might seem, would you truly relax all of the judgment that you have of yourself for one moment? What if you didn't need to judge yourself at all to make sure you're on the right track? Has judgment really been pointing you in the direction you want to go? Or is judgment what actually creeps in and suddenly you feel like you have no idea where you're going and you have no idea where you'd like to go and you have no idea, even if you have a direction, how to take one step in that direction? Do you notice that? When you're really sitting there judging yourself, the more you do that, the more you feel like you have no idea where to go. And more importantly, you have no idea how to be with yourself. And so we find all these distractions to not feel like we are with ourselves. And the truth is, when we're distracting ourselves, we're really trying to distract ourselves from the thoughts and the feelings and the beliefs that we have about ourselves, as if those are the things that are powerful and that are running the experience. And in a sense, those things can run the experience. You might find that anger becomes your top choice, and every situation that you create for yourself, every experience is giving me something to be angry about. You might find that fear is your number one choice, and every experience that you create for yourself gives you something to be fearful about. But even when that is the case, those things are not actually running your life. You are behind the scenes choosing to keep playing that over and over and over and over and over again. And it's hard to even admit that, because we have the idea that fear or anger or sadness or anything else is so undesirable and wrong that we have a really hard time admitting to ourselves, yes, I have been choosing to be angry. I have been choosing to be afraid. I've been choosing to use all the energy that exists to create experiences where I think and feel and believe that I have something to be afraid of. So just let yourself be with the possibility that at some point in your life, you might have been choosing one of the emotions that you say you don't like to feel, one of the feelings that you say you hate, one of the thoughts that you say you hate, one of the experiences that you say. A lot of people, I hate not having any money. Let yourself entertain the idea that as much as you hate not having any money, you might choose that and you might create that experience for yourself, and that there might not be any external force whatsoever that influences you in having less money than you'd like to have. It's a radical notion because there's many things we can point to. The economy, society, there's so many different things we can point to as to why a person may or may not have money. But what if you just played with the idea for right now that it might be entirely your personal choice, and that as much as it flies in the face of everything that would make any sense, you might have chosen not to have a comfortable amount of money, not to have an ideal amount of money, not to have a fantastical amount of money, not to have any money. And let any idea that you would need to judge that vanish from your world. Let any shame that you might feel about how much money you have right now vanish out of your world. Let any shame you might feel about your ability to get more money vanish out of your world. Let your shame about anything you've ever done or not done, with or without money, vanish out of your world. Isn't that like a lot easier than you think it's going to be? We think that we need to do so much to have this stuff shift and change and move out of our experience, but we don't. We truly actually don't. It's a lot easier than we think it is to make a new choice. So allow everything you have thought and felt and believed about money to be whatever it has been up until this moment. And look at that, whether you see it clearly or whether it's murky or whether you have no idea what you've been thinking and feeling and believing about money up until right now. Let it all just simply hang out here. And tell yourself, I'm not going to judge this. I'm not going to judge anything I have thought, felt, believed, or done about money. I'm not going to judge myself. Full stop. Any judgment that I might be experiencing, just let it out of your experience. And really ask yourself, with genuine curiosity, have I been allowing more money into my experience? No judgment whatsoever. Have I been allowing more money into my experience? Not have I wanted more money in my experience, not have I been screaming and complaining and freaking out and begging and pleading for more money in my experience, not have I told everybody I know, God, I wish I could have money. None of that. Have I truly been allowing more money in my experience? And if that's a no for you, don't judge that at all. Be exceedingly grateful to yourself that you are letting yourself right now in this moment actually be aware of that. Okay, I haven't been allowing myself to have more money. And you could get into the reasons for that. You could dig deep. You could look at your child. You could look anywhere for the reason that you haven't been allowing more money into your experience. But why bother? Is that required? Just be with it right now and be aware. Okay, for whatever reason, I have not been allowing as much money as I would like in my experience. And now understand that any reason you could come to, you're going to have to judge. Okay, I haven't been allowing more money into my experience because dot, dot, dot. And then, oh, is that a good reason not to have more money? Is that a bad reason not to have more money? Am I a good person because I think that? Or am I a bad person? It doesn't really actually matter. You're just going to judge whether you're reasoning for not having money. When do you want to reason it out, or do you want to have more money? So let go of the need to even really know why. Because right now in this moment, you can choose, okay, I am allowing myself to have a greater experience. I am allowing myself to experience the truth of who and what I am. And when I say a greater experience, I want to be careful because a greater experience implies that there's a lesser experience that's not going to be as great. So let's introduce some key concepts. Number one, what if no matter what it looks like, your experience is always getting greater and greater and expanding, and you are always, through what you are experiencing, witnessing your own awareness? Would that take some of the pressure off if no matter what your life looked like, felt like, what you believed about it, it was always getting greater? And not because like the universe has your back or anything cute like that, although that's great. If you want to believe the universe has your back, believe it. But what would be a bit more powerful is getting to a place where you relinquish all judgment of yourself and you see yourself for what you actually are in relation to the universe and everything else. Is there even any separation between you and the universe or anything in the universe? No, not really. Now, when I'm sitting here believing that I'm the worst person alive because I don't have enough money to pay the bills, that's not my experience, that I'm one with the universe and I'm one with all. That's not what but it still is. So what if everything is always getting greater? And what if the degree to which you are willing to relinquish your judgment of yourself will accelerate your awareness of things getting greater? You could say things are already perfect, but how often do you let yourself witness that? How often do you let yourself be aware of that? If you are one with everything and you are judging yourself, you are missing that everything is perfect, including you. And again, when I say perfect, a lot of us receive perfect as a judgment. But when I use the word perfect in this moment, what I'm trying to point to is everything being beyond judgment, everything being ever expanding, everything being full of life and energy, and no sense of needing to cut anything off, to stop anything, to resist anything. And again, this is one of those where we have this really interesting conversation, and it's like, but what does this have to do with money? Everything. Because money is this very, very, very small story that merely reflects your relationship with yourself in a particular way. And it reflects your understanding of yourself in a particular way. It is not a full reflection of your relationship with yourself, because you can have a lot of money and not particularly like yourself. But there are people who can relate to themselves in a certain way that allows them to fill their experience with money. Do they fill their experience with other things that they might desire? Maybe, maybe not. The thing is, we cut our lives up into all these little different individual areas, and we look at each area and kind of grade ourselves on how we do. And most of us, 99% of the people on the planet, probably tend to judge themselves as kind of screwed up when it comes to money. And probably, if we're honest, kind of screwed up when it comes to most things. But what if you're not at all? What if that's really not the case? And what if you've been thinking that and feeling that and believing that there's something wrong with you that prevents you from having money, and your experience of money just reflects what you're choosing to create, so that you can have the experience of thinking and feeling and believing everything you think and feel and believe about money. And I know that this is in some ways repetitive, but that's intentional, because there's not a number of times that you could hear what I just said too many times. There's not a number of times it would be too many to hear you're creating your experience exactly as it is, and nothing about it is accidental, and nothing about it is a mistake, and nothing about it is wrong. If you would really say right now, today, I'm creating what I'm experiencing exactly the way I'm experiencing it, nothing about it is a mistake, nothing about it is an accident, nothing about it is wrong. If you would say that as many times as you need to say it, until you actually let yourself know that, not believe it, not feel it, not think it, actually know it, because you already know it. But how much of your life have you invested a lot of energy into forgetting about it, into pretending that's not the case, into pretending that everything's going haywire? And if you say it once and you go, wow, that feels great. Wow, I really believe it. Wow, yeah, I can really think that way. The next day you might create something where you go, oh my, there's no way I created that. There's nowhere I'm creating. There's no way. I am not in charge of my life at all. This is a huge disaster and I'm an idiot. And I know, because I play this game with myself a lot. But if you will really admit, I am creating exactly what I am experiencing right now, and none of it is by mistake, none of it is by accident, and nothing about it is at all wrong, how much freer would you be? Well, the truth is you're already infinitely free, but your perception of that freedom might be a little bit smaller than you'd like it to be. You might have like zero perception that you're free. So, what would it do for your perception of your own freedom if you were to really be here, present, and admit, I am creating exactly what I'm experiencing. It's not a mistake, it's not an accident, and it's not wrong. And we become more aware that, oh yeah, this whole thing that appears to be money, this whole thing that I call money, this whole picture that I look into and call money, every time I look at my bank account, every time I pay the bills, every time I do a job and try to get paid, every paycheck, every bank, everything. I'm setting the parameters on what that is for myself. And what I think and what I feel and what I believe does not come from the experience. It comes from me. I'm the source of everything I think and feel and believe, and I'm the source of everything I experience. And if I had no judgment, no need to judge that. Whoa. Wow. Actually, I can admit it, and I can be with it in a different way than I've ever been with it. And I can stop looking at myself and going, I am such an idiot. I always screw everything up. I never know what I'm doing. I always get into these situations that I cannot figure out how to get out of. That character that you're playing, who keeps getting stuck and who keeps getting caught and who keeps getting into trouble and who keeps getting into a jam and never has enough money and nobody loves them and everybody hates them and your life is always 10 seconds from falling apart. That's just a character. It has nothing to do with who and what you truly are. It's, if anything, a fun game you play with yourself to see how long it's going to take you to figure out that you're not that. Would you let today be the day you let yourself remember that you're not this character you've been trying to play your whole life? That you're not that. That no matter how much energy and force and time and effort you put in to pretending to be that, you're not that. No matter how convincing of a job you've been doing, people are pounding down the door trying to collect debts. Everybody's mad at you. Nobody likes you. The people who do like you are depending on you and you're failing them and you're making them miserable because they care about you so much and you always do the wrong thing. Would you admit that all of that is not you? Completely not you. Never has been, never will be. There's nothing wrong with any of it. There's nothing wrong with pretending to be affected by it. There's nothing wrong, even if you want to argue that you are affected by it, there's nothing wrong with that either. But it's not you. It doesn't define you, and it never will. So be present with it. See to what degree it's actually real. And give yourself 5 seconds to believe that this whole monstrosity you've created for yourself that you call money is actually real in all the ways you think and feel and believe that it's real. Give yourself 5 seconds to really believe that as hard as you can. Isn't it funny that when I invite you to believe it, it becomes hard to believe? But if I was sitting here trying to convince you not to believe it, you'd go, no, it's real. So give yourself 5 seconds to really believe that everything that you've been deluding yourself into thinking and feeling and believing is real. Every time you think about money, give yourself 5 seconds, 5 minutes, 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 months, 5 years, 5,000 years. Believe it as long as you want to believe it. What if it's not real? What if it's truly, truly, truly not what you think it is? What if nothing, nothing, nothing is as difficult as you have been pretending that it is? What if it's just not? Boy, that would be a relief. Can't give myself that kind of relief. It would be wrong for me to have that level of relief when I don't have any evidence that I should have that level of relief. I should feel bad. I have so much evidence that I should feel bad. No, you don't. There's no evidence of anything anywhere. It's all just an experience that you create and that you choose to interpret and judge however you choose to interpret and judge it. What if you chose not to judge it at all? What if you chose to admit that what you truly are is not something that judges? Does the awareness that you really are judge anything? No, of course not. Because if your awareness truly had any judgment on anything, your awareness wouldn't create it in the first place. If you, as this being that is the source of everything in existence, truly had any judgment of anything, that thing wouldn't exist in the first place. Isn't that crazy? If what you actually are had any judgment of anything, it wouldn't exist in the first place. And from that, you get a very valuable reminder. Okay, if the source of everything, let's even, if you don't want to believe that that's you, if you don't want to admit that that's you, let's just call it the source of everything, whatever it is. If the source of everything truly had any judgment, whatever it judged would not exist. So, if you exist at all, in any capacity, if you have any kind of existence, there's nothing wrong with you. Because if the source of all that is had any intention of judging you out of existence, nearly as much as we try to judge ourselves out of existence, you'd already be gone. Isn't that a relief? Whatever is the fundamental energy behind all things has absolutely no vested interest in you not being here. And you can word that as the universe has your back if you like that. But I think there's a way more powerful way of letting yourself know what that actually is. The energy underlying all things might actually want me to be here. Now, you could say that the energy underlying all things might just be neutral. But you have to admit, if it really didn't want you to exist, you wouldn't exist. You'd be gone by now. You'd be out of the game by now. You're here. So something wants you here. And you can look at it as some unknowable, mysterious, otherworldly force, if that does something for you. But what if you let yourself entertain the idea that it might be directly connected to you, that it might be in no way separate from you? I really want myself to be here. In spite of all these pretend judgments that I have, in spite of all this pretend misery, in spite of all of this suffering and agony and trauma, I must really want to be here. Otherwise, I'd already be gone. would you let yourself truly be present with the source that you are in a way that you may not have been present with the source that you are for a very long time? Would you let yourself be more present with the source that you are than you ever have been before? And when you hear that, you might go, yeah, I will. So why isn't there $1 million in my hand right now? You already have something far more valuable than any amount of money currently in your possession. If you will admit that, you can have any amount of money you want. If you will admit that you are already in possession of something greater than any amount of money, you can have any amount of money you want. If you will admit that you are already something worth more than any amount of money on planet Earth, you can have any amount of money you want. Wow, it's only day 3. I got to figure out what to say on the other 4 days. This sucks. So good. Well, everybody, that's, I hope, more than enough for day 3. So I'll see you on day 4, whenever that occurs. Bye-bye.